विष्णुः गुरुदेवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. A very warm welcome to all of you and also good wishes for Shivaratri. Today is the word marking of International Women's Day, and at the same time in Bharat, a very special occasion of Shivaratri, a day to celebrate the consort Shiva and Parvati together. A very beautiful coincidence is that a very celebrated form of Shiva is the Ardhanarishwar, where he is represented as half male and half female, or half man and half woman, where it is Shiv and Shakti who come together and they complete the being. And what better representation of equality of both a man and a woman who are needed actually to run the Prakriti. And this equality is something which is part of our civilization. And this equality is a little different from similarity. When Shiva and Parvati, when they merged together, when Shiva and Shakti come together, they do not become one visible form. They distinctly remain half woman and half man, to also signify that a man and a woman are not same. They may be equal, they are equal from a social perspective, from an overall world cosmic perspective, but they are not the same. They are two separate beings and they are different anatomically, they are different physiologically, they are different psychologically, and they are different at the level of Panchakoshas as well. This, this distinction of a man from a woman is what actually brings us to the topic of the webinar today. It is Rajaswala Paricharya that we will be talking about, and I will just give a very brief schedule of how we will run the webinar today. For the first half an hour, we will have the session. We would discuss and know about Rajaswala Paricharya, and most importantly, how health of women is related to that, and how following the Rajaswala Paricharya affects positively, and not following it actually leads to a lot of diseases and a lot of health issues. And in the second half of the webinar, we would open for question and answers, where I also have some esteemed Vaidyas present in the webinar today. We'd also invite them over to stage, and the related questions that we would have from the participants and the listeners, we would also entertain those questions and we will answer those questions. And in the meanwhile, we'll carry on with making certain announcements and anything specific which comes up. So with that, we would like to start. Rajaswala Paricharya, as the name suggests, to those who are familiar with Sanskrit and we are familiar with Hindi, is actually, it denotes some kind of a routine. Paricharya means a routine, a certain set of practices that are to be followed. But what does Rajaswala stand for? What is Rajaswala? Now, we just spoke about in the beginning that it is the man and the woman who have different bodies, who are anatomically different, who are physiologically different. The two distinct qualities that differentiate a woman from a man, or the one which are actually considered the core of a woman. One is the uterus or the reproductive system, and second are the similar body parts, which is the yoni part of it, which specifically distinguishes a woman from a man. And what is surprising for many to know, that when we talk of Ayurveda, these two are actually the main reasons or the two foundations of a woman's health. So the word Raja actually stands for blood, and not just blood, but the entire reproductive system and the blood which is circulated, which gets consumed, and which gets circulated in the reproductive system. A woman is Raj Pradhan, so she has the all her health, all her blood flows, everything is related with the correct flow of the raja in the body, and that is the reason it becomes very important. Now, what does Rajaswala stand for? Now, as we all know, that a woman actually goes through a menstrual cycle or menstruation every month. Every 28 days, there is the on course of menstruation, or we call them periods as well. And in Sanskrit, they are called Raja Pravatti. That is what starts, and it lasts for 3 to 5 days. The normal is considered 3 to 5 days. Now, when a woman every month enters into this stage of menstruation, or menses as it is called, or periods, the lady is called Rajaswala or Ritumati. Ritu essentially stands for a particular season. Now, since the woman enters a different phase, which is other than her regular phase, it is also called Ritu, and she's also called Ritumati. Now, why? Now, this is the meaning of the word Rajaswala, and Paricharya actually relates to the word routine, or what we are supposed to do, or a certain set of practices that we are supposed to follow. Now, why is it relevant for us to know about Rajaswala Paricharya, and or a closer word in English for that would be menstruation routine. So why is it so that we need to follow a certain kind of a paricharya or a certain kind of a routine which is different from our normal routine during the menstruating days? It's a pertinent question. And in modern days, another important question which comes up is that why is it important for us to actually follow a particular routine? It's our regular life. It's something which happens every month, and we don't feel anything different about it. So why should we follow a different kind of a routine? So let me take a simile for that, a very small or simple simile. If we go to live in a particular country, let's say other than our home country or any particular country, we follow the rules which are pertaining there, whatever are the law and the orders, rules and guidelines there, whatever are the ways of trade and business there, whatever are the ways of living, the taxes, the lifestyle, everything, the kind of food that we get. We follow all those guidelines. We follow wherever we have gone because we want to have a comfortable and a steady and a smooth life. It's pretty much the same way that Rajaswala Paricharya is something which is expected to be followed during the menstruating days so that the woman can have a comfortable and a smooth life, not just during the menstruating days, but also afterwards. Now, why there is a need for Rajaswala Paricharya? Because in Ayurveda and our great sages, our rishis have studied the most important aspect of a woman, the uterus, the reproductive system, and have understood and have derived what are the things that are need to be done to keep it in a healthy state. And the monthly menstruation is a very important aspect of it. So that is the reason there are certain practices, there are certain types of foods, there are certain types of practices that are expected to be followed so that the menstruation cycle completes smoothly. Now, why does the menstruation cycle needs to complete smoothly? What actually happens? What are the changes that actually happen? Now, there are three fundamental things, or there are three dimensions to the menstruating state, as Ayurveda prescribes it. One, there is a change in the body temperature. The temperature inside the body actually increases, it rises up because the toxins in the body, the entire process, I'm not going into the detail of the entire menstrual cycle because I'm expecting that most of you would be aware of that. So that entire process actually releases, it accumulates and then it releases those toxins in the form of menstrual blood out, and it works on pushing this out or flushing it out of the body of the woman. So at that time, for doing that, naturally the temperature of our body increases inside the body. Now, whenever someone has fever, you can always see it from outside. You can actually measure it from using a thermometer, or even if you touch the skin, you can feel the heated or the increased temperature. However, during menstruation, the temperature of the body from the outside does not increase, but from the inside it increases. Now, why does it increase? Because you can actually compare it with the flow of water. If the water is cold, or let's say when in very cold areas, the water gradually starts, when the temperature goes down, the water actually starts to densen. It becomes thick, and the flow of the water actually slows down. As compared to that, when the water is in complete liquid state, or when it's like in a warm state, it actually flows in very smoothly. It is exactly the same reason why our body naturally increases the body temperature from the inside, so that the toxins can actually flow out comfortably. That is the first change. The second change is actually there is shy, or there is depreciation of energy from the body, because there's a particular process which is happening. For example, if we go to answer the call of nature, we see that there is a certain pressure which is applied when we have to pass stool, when we have to pass urine. Though we do not feel that when we are actually passing on the menstrual blood, the pressure is applied, but the entire body actually uses energy to flush it out. So our job, one, the requirement of energy in the body increases, and because all the resources are actually working towards pushing that out, we need to conserve energy from other means, from other sides. The third aspect of that is that the toxins actually which release from the body. So we talk about two aspects already. We spoke about the temperature of the body. We talk about the kshaya of energy, or the depreciation of energy. You can even call it, like physical strength as well. One aspect of that is that. And the third one is the flow of vayu. Now, in Ayurveda, it actually describes our body as a composition of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And we'll talk about that in detail probably some other time. We currently are only touching about the Rajaswala Paricharya part of it. So, the third aspect is actually the Vayu or the Vat. Now, the five elements, the fundamental five elements which we call the Panch Mahabhut, which is water, starting from earth, which is Prithvi, Jal, Tej, Vayu, Akash, or earth, water, fire, if you want to call it that. It's actually the Tej element, fire, air, and ether, or space also. So these elements, out of these, Vayu or air is actually used for speed, or for movement, or for motion. So when the temperature of the body from the inside increases, the pitta in our body increases, and the vayu in the body. There are seven types of vayus depending on the sthan, or the place where they reside in our body. So at this point in time during menstruation, it is the apana vayu, the vayu which is responsible for pushing the mala, the pushing the toxins and the waste out of our body, is most active. So at that time, the vayu inside the body is active and is pushing things out of the body. It is flushing it out. The and perspiration. We perspire, of course. So through the pores, we also release toxins. So during menstruation, actually, even through the pores, the toxins also release out. So why I spoke about these three aspects is because one is the temperature of the body from the inside. Second uh, is the uh, is the depreciation of energy, and third is the status of vayu, which is not exactly, does not translate into gas particularly, but vayu stands for the energy of the body, which is actually working on flushing the menstrual blood out. Now, what Rajaswala Paricharya has to do with this, why I was explaining this, is because the Rajaswala Paricharya prescribes that there are certain things that a woman should do, and there are certain things that a woman should not do in order to maintain the natural or the desired state of all these things. So, first we spoke about was the temperature of the body. So, with reference to temperature of the body, and uh, there is a mention of Rajaswala. Before that, I'll just kind of go back a bit. There, the mention of Rajaswala Paricharya, or the dependency of a woman's health on her menstrual health, on the health of her entire reproductive system, is mentioned in almost all of the Ayurveda granthas. Be it starting from the Kashyap Samhita, which is the oldest written medicine document of medicine in the world, It is written in the Charak Samhita, Charak, who is called the father of medicine. It is written in Sushruta Samhita, Sushruta, who is called the father of surgery. And we're not talking about just India or Bharat here, we're talking about the whole of world. So Rajaswala Paricharya finds a mention in all of them, but most beautifully, and if I may say, as Acharya Mehul Bhai says, most poetically and most beautifully has been put by Bhav Mishra ji in his Grantha Bhav Prakash. There it mentions that what are those certain things that a woman is expected to do during these 3 to 5 days of Rajaswala Paricharya, so that her the natural flow happens, all the toxins actually get released from the body, and the woman actually achieves a healthy state at the end of it, and then the entire process of flushing is completed. So according to Ayurveda, this process of menstruation is actually a cleansing process, which is a detoxification process, which naturally happens every month in a woman's body. What better way to keep yourself healthy? And that does not happen in a man. So that is the reason I said in the beginning, the health of a man and the health of a woman needs to be taken care of differently. And the woman's health is, that's how it is dependent on the Rajaswala Paricharya, or on the menstrual cycle, or on the reproductive system. Now, coming back to the body temperature part of it, we were talking about that. So Bhav Prakash ji actually mentions there are about 17 such areas which are mentioned, and what we would do that as I'm speaking this, we also have actually launched or introduced a small introduction course on Rajaswala Paricharya. We will share the the details for that in the chat section here. I would request Suchitra to please share that. She will be able to share it, and there we actually mention all the areas, all the points where the Rajaswala Paricharya is mentioned, along with the respective sutras or the shlokas. Now, so there are three aspects that we were talking about. One is the increased body temperature, which is the heat of the body. Second is the depreciation of energy, and the third is the state of vayu. So the Rajaswala Paricharya also primarily divides into these three areas to address these three areas, so that the natural detoxification process, the natural flushing out process continues and happens nicely and correctly. Now, the very first for that is something which will come as a shock to most who do not know Rajaswala Paricharya, because most of us are not following it these days, is related to bathing. Rajaswala Paricharya, or our sages or Ayurveda Granthas actually suggest not taking a bath when a woman is menstruating, especially for the first 3 days, because 3 days are considered the normal, menstrual flow days for a woman. Now, bathing or snan is something which has been given the utmost importance in our civilization, in our culture, in our religion, in all the practices that we do. Snan is considered so important that if one type of snan is not possible, then there are various ways. There are 14 types of bathing styles or snanas which are actually mentioned in Ayurveda. Now, a pati which focuses so much on bathing, and if that is recommending that a woman should not take a bath during those 3 days, I think the logic becomes pretty clear on its own. Now, why one should not take a bath during these 3 days? That is because water is actually cool by its nature. Its fundamental nature is cool. It is Shit Virya. So when we take a bath, our body actually cools down. Compare it to a situation when someone has a fever. What do? We take a bath when we have fever? We don't. Why don't we take a bath? Because if we take a bath when we have fever, our body has high temperature, then it actually, as it is called, that it actually suppresses, it stays inside the body, and later on it actually converts to various kinds of diseases and takes a different form, and then actually manifests itself. And we don't even feel very good if we take a bath when we have fever. We feel a little feverish, we feel cold with that. So the recommendation comes is, in that case, why don't we take a bath with hot water? So coming back to that, as I said, Ayurveda suggests water is cool by nature. It its tendency is to cool the body down. Generally, when we take a bath, we feel very nice, especially to children. When we give children a bath, immediately after that, toddlers and infants especially, they immediately go to sleep because the body relaxes so much, and the body is in a relaxed state when it has cooled down. Now, if we take a bath, the body from the inside also cools down. And so, what happens? Why was the temperature of the body at a higher was higher inside? So that the flow of the menstrual blood actually happens smoothly. It stays thin, and then it can actually easily flush out of the body. But when we take a bath, it cools down. So, the going back to the same simile of a water, probably in a tap. So if when the temperatures are higher, let's say during at hill stations, the water actually freezes inside the taps. Now what happens when it freezes or when it becomes very dense? It stays inside the pipe. It does not go out. So the same thing happens to the menstrual blood when we take a bath during menstruation day. These days what has happened, I think it is to have something to do with the taboo that all this is nonsense. We have to go to work, we have to do so many things. Taking a bath, we feel so unhygienic. So taking a bath is considered a very fundamental thing during menstruation, and this is something which is very opposite to what our body is doing. And if we even if we say that, okay, fine, let anyone say whatever they have to say, I cannot be without taking a bath, the result or the repercussion for that also is to be borne by us only. For example, when the menstruation cycle is normal, when a woman is completely healthy, then at the end of menstruation, at the end of these 3 to 5 days, the body feels light, you feel cheerful. But if you do take a bath, this is something which has been increasingly in Sanskriti Arya Gurukulam, and a lot of Vaidyas who are also present right now will vouch for it as well, that this kind of a subtle complaint always said that, I don't feel fresh after, after I am done, after I'm through with my menstruation cycle. Now, the reason for that is this only because all the toxins actually do not go out of the body and they stay inside the body. So, if our body already has toxins, the body will not feel light. Just like when we actually, when we answer the call of nature, when the mala actually goes out and the waste goes out of our body, we feel light. It is the same way. Our body is expected to feel light, but we don't feel light because all the toxins are not able to go out of the body. And all these toxins, because these are actually dushit artav, this is not pure blood. So this has a lot of waste. So if that does not go out of the body, it remains inside the uterus, it remains stuck to the walls of the uterus, it remains stuck in the fallopian tubes. So what happens gradually with time, the problems of PCOD, PCOS, fibroids, so many other things actually develop. A big reason for that is that during the menstruation cycle, all the toxins do not go out of our body because we do not maintain that temperature which is required for all the blood to flow out. Now, this is something I'm sure that a lot of us who are either on the call or we feel that we see that around. I mean, those of us who are not ladies, we see that around that PCOD and PCOS have really become almost a common problem. Every third or fourth woman that you speak to, she would say that she has PCOS tendency, she has proper PCOD, or she has some kind of fibroidal problems. And all these problems we continue to bear, we continue to have medication because we do not know what is actually causing it. And unless you treat the cause, if you take a medicine for something, at the most whatever has happened inside the body, it is going to address it. But if you do not treat the reason for that, it will continue to reoccur. And if it will continue to reoccur, gradually it reaches a stage where it becomes a major disease. And the worst effect of this is it happens later in the life when a young woman or a woman is expected to bear a child. That time, a big reason the lot of infertility actually comes in. There are a lot of treatments which ladies have to undergo through, a lot of painful treatments, a lot of very expensive treatments they have to go through because of PCOD, PCOS, and fibroid situation. So IVF is not the answer. Yes, IVF is coming as an alternative to infertility or for mothers or for couples who are not able to bear children. But actually, uh, if Rajaswala Paricharya is followed properly, if we actually follow these practices, I just take one example of not bathing or not doing snana during menstruation actually affects so many of it. The other important aspect, because we only have about 10 minutes left today, we will of course talk about that later in sessions that we will continue to conduct. But another important aspect that I wanted to cover or I wanted to share was, one is the bathing basically is keeping the temperature inside the body to its desired level. Nature and our body is very intelligent. It knows what is the right temperature that it needs to maintain, it needs to come to be able to flush out the menstrual blood. Our job is not to interrupt it. So, one way that we have interrupted is by bathing. And unfortunately, this has happened these days that in a lot of families or in communities or in regions, forget about once, they are expected to take a bath more than once, 2 or 3 times a day, and even take head bath. Now imagine the amount of cool or the amount of lowering of temperature we are doing to the body. Now what will happen if you keep on doing it month after month after month after month after month? Ultimately we'll come to a stage where these toxins will accumulate to a stage that it is actually convert into a disease. And anyway, we do not feel normal at the end of it because they have not been able to flush out of the body. That is one aspect of it. So that's because of that, what we see these days in a lot of women is this feeling of anxiety, restlessness, or anger for that matter. You know what we there's a word for that in Hindi, chidchidapan, and that doesn't just happen during the menstrual cycle days or during the ritukal, but it actually continues to become the nature of the woman. And in Bharatiya Sanskriti, Stree or the woman is considered the focal point, the Kendra Bindu of the family. If her health is not right, the health of the entire family gets affected for two reasons. Because the health does not happen only at the physical level. Bharat, our civilization, our science considers health at three levels: at the physical level, at the mental level, and at the psychological and at the spiritual level. Not following the Rajaswala Paricharya leads to these kind of mental and psychological states that actually leads to a unhealthy state of mind, unhealthy state of an unhealthy psychological state. And if that is the state of the woman of the family who's supposed to take care of the entire family, imagine what happens to rest of the family. Coming to continuing with the same aspect of the body temperature being high inside during menstrual cycle, and a taboo which we really call it a taboo, and I think most of us in urban cities have disassociated ourselves from that, is cooking during menstruation. Now, Seko, no, it is really a very sad philosophy. It is just not possible. We have nuclear families. We have to go out to work every day. We have to prepare our tiffins. We have to make tiffins for our children. So there is no way that we can stop cooking. And what is the problem in cooking? Yeah, fine. I mean, anyway, I take a bath. I feel unhygienic from the outside. I take a bath, so I feel fresh and hygienic. Then I go and then I cook. Now, one, as we said, because the temperature of the body from the inside is actually already high, taking a bath cools it down, which actually reduces the flow of toxins, which reduces the menstrual blood flow from outside to outside the body. And at the same time, when we go about cooking, the temperature of the body from the inside is already high. So it has two aspects to it. One, the woman, because there are hormonal secretions also happening at that time, the temperature of the body from the inside is high. We lot of time we make fun about it, that the woman is not in a good mood when she's menstruating. So actually, the emotion, because of the hormonal secretions and the temperature of the body, the emotional state is volatile. And in our civilization, in our science, it is very clearly said that the emotion or the feeling with which you cook actually also transfers into the food. And who actually eats that food? Our entire family, the people that we live with. So one, it is our state which is going to pass on, our psychological state, our emotion, which is going to pass on into the food. And the second and a very important aspect, which Pujya Vishwanath Guruji has spent years actually researching and concluding, that something that he did with a lot of evidence, is the increasing cases of breast cancer. Now, when a lady cooks, it is the breast area which is close to the fire. So the proximity with fire is another important aspect, which is part of the Rajaswala Paricharya. And I would request Suchitra to share. There is a PDF document of do's and don'ts that we will share with all of you, that you can I think you'll be able to download it from the chat section. that actually tells what are the things that you are supposed to do and what are the things you are not supposed to do, which is uh, for with reference to the diet and with reference to the routine. Ahar and vihar. Pathya is what you're supposed to do, and apathya is what you are not supposed to do. So, in the list of things that you are not supposed to do as part of Rajaswala Paricharya is cooking, or basically staying away from Agni, or proximity to fire should not be there. You should stay away from fire. By fire, it means that kind of a heat, because fire or the Agni, as we see in the burners in the gas, it has the highest temperature. So that temperature, we our body already is at an increased temperature, and from the outside also, when this temperature gets in, that is the time the areas which do not have too much of bones or which are very muscular, if they are exposed to increased heat for a longer time, that is where the cysts and the these formations actually start. And so if you go, there is extensive work which is being done on breast cancer in modern science, but they are not able to find the reason for that. This is a very, very important point that Puja Guruji has actually brought forward and has shared with them. And uh, uh, proximity with fire, one aspect is because of the physical health, and the second, because of the state of the mental state or the psychological state of the woman at this time is volatile. That is the reason she should also refrain from cooking. Another very logical reason is if one is not taking a bath or one has not taken a bath, you don't cook without taking a bath. So anyway, the cooking aspect doesn't come in. With reference to the same practice, we say, oh, the lady is not supposed to do puja part, she becomes apavitra during this time. So apavitra and ashauch, basically being unholy or being despicable versus being, not something that you should be touching or being in proximity for are two different things. So this is a misconception which has come in, and I think the way the practices have taken shapes in the families, it has come up so that, oh, the woman has become apavitra. So that is the reason she is not supposed to cook. It is a very simple thing. We cook in a hygienic state of our body. When the body is not in a hygienic state, you are not expected to cook. And then, of course, the psychological reason also that I spoke about. So Agni and the aspect of the body temperature is actually related to these two aspects. So one, we spoke about the primary thing of taking a bath. See how many things it is related to. Taking a bath is related to uh, uh, unwantedly cooling down the temperature of your body from the inside. Taking a bath is related to cooking. Taking a bath is related to doing puja. So these are the three primary reasons that we do not do. Another reason when we say, oh, why is a woman actually refrain from going inside the temple or doing puja at that time? Because if you remember the third aspect that I spoke about, which is the Vayu aspect, is that at that time the energy of the body is pushing everything or pushing the flow downwards. Generally, when we do puja, when we do any mantra prarthana, when we pray towards God, the energy inside the body flows upwards. So imagine what happens when there is a friction. Your natural process is happening, is pushing the energy down. All the energy is flowing downwards. The negative energy is on its way out downwards. And then we are actually trying to, through puja and through mantra chanting, etc., we are actually trying to raise the energy levels upwards. So there is a friction between the two. What happens when there is a friction? Our sama avastha, our balance state gets disturbed. We get disturbed. So this is the reason a woman is actually expected uh, to be taking a time off, if I may say so, during those, especially the first 3 days. And because bathing has such an important connection to that, that is the reason after 3 days, when the lady takes a head bath, she is called a ritu snata. This word loses its meaning, its relevance, if you talk of modern times, because we have let go of this practice of not taking a bath during that time. Now we feel so unhygienic. What to do if we do not take a bath at this point in time? You understand that of course is going to lead to a lot of diseases, but you don't feel very good. So two things that you have to remember: one, as we say, to actually to tell your mind, it is because you are worried about the hygiene of the body from the outside, but you're not worried about the hygiene of the body from the inside. If toxins stay inside your body is getting more and more unhygienic from the inside. That is one aspect of it. Second is, just like we do it during fever times, sponge your body. Wash your yoni kshetra, the vaginal areas well properly. but do not take a bath. Spongy body, just like you do when you do it when you have fever. Second, it comes to cooking. Now, this is something which I think there's a social change which has happened, and it is different in different parts of India. Is that the other members of the family, even if it is a nuclear family, there are other members of the family who cook. This does not mean that you actually are supposed to order food from outside, order a lot of food from Zomato, from all those apps who come and deliver fantastic food at your home. No, because the lady is expected to have Havishya food, which is without oil, simple sattvic food she is expected to have. So in the list that Suchitra has shared on the chat, you will see the do's. Within do's you have the Pathya Ahar. What is it that the lady is supposed to eat during menstruation days, and what she is not supposed to eat during menstruation days. Similarly, the viharas, the kind of practices that she's supposed to follow, and the practices she's supposed to not follow. Within that, we spoke about snan, we spoke about bathing, we spoke about cooking, and another important aspect with which I would wrap up this particular session is sleeping on a darbashaya or on a grass mat. Now, again, it has to do with the toxins and the energy of the body. You remember we spoke about four maladwaras, or the four gateways of for toxins to release, or the ways to go out of our body. The pores are also part of it. So during this time, if there are a lot of aura reading machines which are available nowadays, so whoever has access can actually try this and see it for yourself. The aura of the body, the energy levels of the body are different at that time. Now, what happens if you sleep on our regular beddings, which are made of cotton, sponge, and foam and all those things? It actually absorbs the energy. That is the reason generally when we feel very warm when we sleep there, or so. So they will absorb the negative energy, and on the regular days when you will sleep on those mattresses, that energy is gonna disturb you. You will not have a peaceful sleep. That is one aspect of it. Second, at that time, if you sleep on the darba, if you know, is a particular kind of grass which we also use during puja and all. Whenever there is an eclipse, solar eclipse, or especially a lunar eclipse, I'm sure a lot of you actually follow that practice that you put durva in, all the food items so that it doesn't go bad. The reason for that is it is actually a good conductor. We know of a good conductor of heat and energy and a bad conductor. It is a good conductor. So one, it prevents the coldness of the earth from reaching us if we we sleep on durva, the mat on the ground. And second, it does not absorb the negative energy. It just lets it go. And then at the end of it, when we are back to our normal routine, we can go back to sleeping on our regular mattresses. So these are three very important things that I kind of wanted to talk about. The three fundamentals that I would really request all of you to remember would be: one, the temperature of the body from the inside needs to be maintained. So the practices and the food which is recommended to keep that temperature intact is something that we should follow, that we should do. We should follow that ahar vihar. And the one which actually cools it down, which actually thickens it, those are the ones which we should avoid. Food as well as any kind of practices or routine. Similarly, when it comes to the Shakti Gakshay, this is a part that I would love to talk about as well, but in the interest of time, I would just mention it. Is that you are not supposed to spend too much of energy, because your energy is already going out through the menstrual blood, through this menstruation process. You are supposed to preserve the energy from other means. So that is why you're not supposed to do too much of hustle bustle, a lot of hard work, a lot of running about, what about not talking too much, or not doing a lot of physical work. This is something which is needed to actually retain the energy. Imagine if the water is supposed to go out from one outlet and it has pores all around as well. So what will happen? The flow of the water from that side, or it will not have enough pressure to go out from its desired outlet. It'll actually get wasted from other pores. Same is the case for Shakti or for an energy. You're not supposed to let it go wasted. Preserve it, because your body needs more energy to push this toxic blood out of the body. And then we spoke about the Vayu part of it. So with reference to Vayu also, as far as food is concerned, eating cold items like curd, yogurt, ice cream, it actually works on the temperature side of it, as well as the Vat side or the Vayu also. So anything which increases the Vayu in the body, because it's already at such a sensitive state and everything is working to push it down, if we eat or if we indulge into activities which actually increase the level of bath in our body, that is something which is going to cause us not just discomfort but also cause a lot of diseases. Now, again, if you'll see, there are a lot of women, most of the women who, after crossing the age of 35, by the time they come to 40, they start getting some or the other body ache. Now, this is a fundamental problem of not adhering to the, to the regimes which actually lead to an increased bath in our body, especially during the menstruation cycle. So this is a very elaborate topic. All of us need to understand this Rajaswala Paricharya. In the olden days, the Gurukul Shiksha ensured that this, not just the information, but this entire practice was passed down to every single person, and not just women, not just girls, but also to boys, because everyone lives in the family. It is not a taboo to hide it that way. Even in south of India these days also, it is a very common thing that when the woman is menstruating, it is the men of the family who cook, and it is a very natural part of the process, is part of life. So that is something which used to be done. That is something which has stopped. We have massive curriculums these days in schools, but this very important, very fundamental basis to life in information or knowledge is not imparted, especially to girls also. So this is very important. We all understand it in detail. We understand it. We satisfy our quest for logic, our quest for science, because every single thing which is prescribed in Rajaswala Paricharya is very, very scientific. So what we are supposed to do is to understand it completely and then implement it. And as Guruma Jigyasa Acharya says, she's also part of the webinar right now, that do it yourself, try it yourself and see the difference in your health. And that is when, you will not be required to hear it from someone else, the benefits that it actually brings you. So with that, what I will also do, that I would also actually call upon all of you to take a pledge that for the next 1 year, starting from this Women's Day to the next Women's Day, or starting from this Shivaratri, from this Ardhanarishwar Day to the next Ardhanarishwar Day, that you will follow as much of Rajaswala Paricharya as possible and see the difference in your health yourself, whether it is your own health if you are a woman, or the health of the women in your family if you are a man who's actually here to know about it, so that ladies or members, female members of the family can benefit from it. Now, but since it is an important topic and we really cannot talk about it all in this webinar, what I will what we have done, that we have actually prepared an introduction kind of a course or a curriculum for you, and I would request Suchitra if she can share the link for that as well. Now, through that course, what we're going to do, one, of course, it will introduce you to Rajaswala Paricharya, what it is. At the same time, if you register for that course, we will actually create a community. It is inside the systems that we use. In that community, you can come in anytime, ask or put up your questions which are related to either women's health or Rajaswala Paricharya, get answers to that. And the pledge from our side, the pledge from Sanskriti Arya Gurukulam, and through Sanskriti Arya Gurukulam from Brahmavarchas, it is that we are here, we'll be here to hold your hand in this journey. Every month, just like we are having this opening webinar today, every month we will organize a session with the experts, with the Vaidyas, with the Ayurved Gyatas, and answer these questions, and at the same time take one particular topic or one particular aspect of Paricharya, talk about that in detail, cover all aspects, and during the month, whatever common questions that we would have got, we will also discuss and talk about those questions. So there, what Suchitra will share with you in the chat box, you can actually go and see. Once you register for the course, you will be able to go to your dashboards and see a community there. From that community, you will be able to see Rajaswala Paricharya. You go there and you will be able to ask your questions, get replies to your questions, get into discussions. The upcoming sessions that we will have every month, as I said, we will have these webinars. We will put the information about those webinars in this only, and they will be conducted on that platform only. So even the recording of this webinar will also get added to that course. So if you register to that, you'll have access to this entire thing for the next 1 year. And it is not just about posing your questions or probably becoming a part of a community which does nothing. Our idea is that we want the women of India to be healthy, to be healthier than they are currently. 80% of the women are not in a in a healthy state currently at all levels, at the physical, mental, and the psychological level. We want all women in India to be, and not just in India, even outside as well. But our interest is particularly aligned with the women in India. The health should improve. Following Rajaswala Paricharya will bring in magical improvements in your health. That is something that we can assure you, and we are very much here to be with you in this journey. So why don't you start following it and then come share your experiences with us? If you have any questions, you bring those questions to us. We will answer those questions to you. We will discuss those questions with you. And as I said, we will pick up one particular aspect of the Rajaswala Paricharya, and in these monthly webinars on these sessions, we will keep covering them as we go along. The session for today was actually conducted in English for for better understanding for a larger audience. But the forthcoming sessions would be conducted depending on what is the audience like. Will be both in Hindi and English. Anyway, anytime a person can ask their questions in Hindi as well. We are not able to actually respond to all the languages currently, so we are sticking to Hindi and English at this point in time. So you can pose your questions in any of the languages. You can ask your questions in any of the languages, and then we will try to take this journey forward. So for the next 1 year, we are taking this pledge. We are very much here with you. And with saying that, what I would do that I can see Dr. Pooja Vedya Pooja ji is on board. Just give me a second. Let me just quickly see. So with this, I would request her to also join the stage. And now we are about 10 minutes left into the scheduled time today. So if there are any questions that you want to pose, you want to ask, we will be more than happy to answer those questions. All right. So you can pose those questions in the chat box as well. And at the same time, if you want to raise a hand and ask this question, you can do that as well. I can see one question here starting from how to download the PDF. So the PDF that you have, next to that you will see a download button, which is like a down arrow. If you click on that, you'll be able to download it. And that document is both in Hindi and in English. There is another question if there's any other document to share. So there is no other document to share. As I said, you can go and register in the link. That's where we will continue to get all the forthcoming information. At the same time, even the recording of this webinar will be available there. We also have a request for conducting this in Hindi. So this particular session, we will, if there are any questions in Hindi, we will certainly answer them in Hindi. But for now, the language of the session will continue to be English. I have one question saying that can we do any exercise during menstruation days? So any exercise except for pranayam, which is something that you do with your breathing, you should refrain from doing any exercise. कोई व्यायाम नहीं करना चाहिए. Again, coming back to the Shakti ka Shay, to the loss of energy from the body, to retain that and at the same time to stop or to prevent the pressure on the muscles of the stomach and the garva. You are supposed to keep them in a relaxed state. That is the reason one should not be doing any vyayam, any exercise, any gymming, any cycling, any swimming. All these at this time should not be done during menstruation. I see another question that what should we do during PMS? We get irritated, sad, etc. That's a very good question, Pranaviji. And I think I did speak about that. I did talk about this aspect as well. The very core reason for that is that everything toxic that is supposed to go out from our body, if it does not go out, it remains in our body. And it is like the side effect of those toxins. So one aspect of it actually goes on to our body itself. where it actually, ultimately leads to many diseases which are related to the uterus and to the vaginal openings. Um, and the second aspect is we do not feel light, we do not feel good. Because of that, our mental state also changes. So for that, eating the right food, not, for example, the pitta in our body is already high. Pitta is something which is known to cause, or one of the symptoms is that one is restless, or anger is also related to pitta. So imagine if we are already has increased pitta, and on top of it we eat oily foods, we eat pani puri, we eat chaat, and we eat lot of vada and basically oily items. So these things add to the pitta, so we become more irritable. So that is a very important aspect. Sadness that you spoke about, sadness had to do with the vata, increased vata. So for example, a lot of ladies who drive a scooty these days, right? If you are in a car, you are still traveling, but at least if it's a closed chamber and you don't have the AC on, you do not receive air or wind from the front. But on the scooty, or if you are running like that, that is the time when you increase, you receive a lot of air as well, and that is actually causes an imbalance of vayu inside the body. At the same time, if the other toxins are not getting released, we are fatiguing ourselves. Sadness is also related to excess release of energy. So if that is happening, that also is usually a reason for that. So that is the reason it is recommended. It is also there in the document in one of the Patyaharas. Stay calm, say prasanna chitta. Do not watch too much of mobile, television, web series. They have a lot of these hormone inducing kind of things which actually give a very disturbed feeling to the mind. So refrain from that, do that, indulge into good practices, stay calm. Those are the things which will help you overcome these kind of things, and following the Rajaswala Paricharya so that all the toxins properly go out of the body. I have another question which says there is migraine during periods. Now, why does that happen, and what is the solution to it? This is Dr. Pooja able to join the stage? This is a bigger question, I would say, and it is again, Monaji, related to both the Pitta and the Vata state. What I would recommend, if you can, if you want to register and then pose this question there and leave your details, we'll come back to you with the detailed answer to that on what has to be the treatment, the proper treatment for that. One, as I said, if you follow the Vihara Paricharya, which is there in the PDF document, if you follow it for a month, you will start seeing the difference within a month only. And pay special attention to the amount of water that you consume, and the cold things that you consume. Another question that we have from Savita ji is that can we bathe with warm water? So I did touch upon this aspect that bathing is something, even with warm water, since water is cool by its fundamental nature, it is not recommended. If it is really very very essential, which are very rare conditions, as an exception, one can take a bath with warm water with very little water, and that too with neem and haldi in it. So that is an exception, as I said. On a regular basis, you're not supposed to have a bath, whether with cold water or with warm water. So because the fundamental effect of water is cool, so that's the reason we should refrain from that. Um, all right. So there is a suggestion that we can share the document on email also for the ease of audience. We'll try and do that at a later stage. So if someone has not received, is not able to download the document, please to leave a message in the chat window, and we will certainly mail it across to them. There's another question that if someone has a over bleeding problem, or ati is called the ati artha, then can she take a bath? So answer to that is still the same, that taking a full bath is something which is not recommended as a part of Rajaswala Paricharya. However, yoni prakshalan, or basically properly cleaning the yoni area, etc., so that the feeling of unhygiene doesn't stay, that is something which can be done. That is even recommended in the in the Pathya Vihar. However, taking a full bath is something one should not do, because, as we said, it affects the blood flow and it affects the temperature of the body. But the cleaning can be done, and the cleaning of the Yoni-kshetra can be done. There is another one. There's a question that for those who have a flow till the fifth day, can she bathe on third day or after completing all flow? Now, for that is actually if someone has full flow for 5 days, it is not a normal condition. So for that, you should certainly refer to the Vaidya and come back, try to come back to the normal routine. However, still 3 to 5 days is normal. So what happens that after 3 days, it is usually the residue are very scanty. If that is the case, yes, after the third day also the ritusnan can be done. But if the flow is just like rest of the 3 days in the fourth and the fifth day, then you need to first get the proper aushadhi, come back to the regular state, and then do that. If until that time, you should do a ritu snan at the end of 5 days or 4 days, whatever till whatever days your natural heavy flows continues. Reading books during those days, yes, certainly that is a great idea. Just refrain from using detective novels and those anime modern comics. But otherwise, reading books during this time is recommended because you're not supposed to sleep during the day. You're supposed to take rest and actually intake good things, uh, mm, good thoughts, good knowledge. So yes, reading books is a fantastic thing to do during those days. Uh, there's another question, and what is the other way to take bath other than water? Now that is something where we can discuss that separately if you want. There are various ways of taking bath. As far as Rajaswala Paricharya is concerned, during the menstruating days, the bath has to be only in the form. There has to be no water bath, and it has to be only in the form of sponging the body. There is no other way of bath which is recommended during Rajaswala Paricharya. Okay. There's another question. It says that there are restrictions on head wash as well. And could you tell what is a safe time before and during after menstruating days? So the answer to that is the same. When we say no bath, it also means no head bath as well. And at the end of third day, if that is your normal menstruation cycle, and the fourth and fifth are scanty days or no flow, then at the end of 3 days, at the end of 3 full days, basically 3 nights, is when you should take a head bath. After 3 days, it should be a head bath. It should not be just a bath and then you can wash hair some other day. The head bath should happen. Ritu Snan actually happens with the head bath. So that is the idea. Before and after, of course, you can continue to bathe your head just like you regularly do. All right. So there's a fantastic question. I think a very, very relevant question that can we go out and do our jobs during periods? That is, I think, because all the working women who currently are there, no one takes a leave or no one takes a day off during their menstruating days. One, because there are no policies around that, and two, because it is considered so regular that we really are not supposed to do anything different. But yes, especially if you are in a job which is hectic, either physically or mentally, both ways. For example, people who are lawyers, people who are CAs, or who are in such managerial roles where they really have to multitask and take care of a lot of things. Yes, you should be taking rest. You should be taking mental rest and physical rest. So, if possible, you should avoid these days after corona. I think we have this model of on and off of work from home and work from office kind of a thing. So if you can get into those kind of arrangements, do look into that. Acharya ji has very openly recommended that this companies should consider, governments should consider giving these at least 2 days off to ladies during that time. But coming back to that, because from an office perspective, it's not very practical, and where would the equality of Women's Day go? So if you take vacation during those 3 days because it is required, it is needed by the body and the mind, compensate for it in other days as well. So it should not be so that, for example, that for everyone else there are 4 days off in a month or 5 days off in a month, and for a woman it will be 8 days. So that is where your equality will come into picture. So do compensate it for that way, but give this time, utilize this leave for yourself rather than going out to probably Switzerland, and spending your vacation there for two weeks, or or going to any such place like that. Instead, accumulate this for your own health, because that is something which is going to stay with you for all your life. So that's what it will be. Um, I think whatever were in the chat, I think I have covered most of the questions. Uh, Suchitra, are there any questions left? Did you notice? So we have covered most of the questions, and we are right on time as well. As I requested, I'll once again wrap it up with these few notifications with these few suchnas. One, request all of you to register for the Rajaswala Paricharya course. It is a bilingual course. Same course is available in Hindi as well as in English. Uh, the community through the images and the video that Suchitra would have shared in the chat box, you would be able to see how you go, and in the community you can go into the community, and under Rajaswala Paricharya you can pose your questions in any of the languages. I think we should also be able to support Gujarati, given that we will have support from Guru Mata as well and Dr. Pooja as well. So we should be able to support Gujarati as well. So you can pose questions in any of those three languages that you want, and we would give the answers. And the sessions that we will have, the information will come in those community announcements. At the same time, those sessions would be bilingual. We'll try to keep it bilingual, or probably some in Hindi as well. So one, it will depend on the speaker, what is their language of comfort, and two, it will depend on then what is the topic that we are covering. So it will be bilingual or it can be a mix. This session was expected to be in English only. So going forward, that's how it will be. All the information about the webinars, upcoming webinar sessions would be posted in that community. And the recording of this webinar will also be available in the Rajaswala Paricharya course. There is another elaborate course on Rajaswala Paricharya which will be released shortly. It will be released periodically. So you'll be more than welcome to join that course as well. However, the community, the discussions, the Q&As, everything will stay on this particular session only. So with that, I think we have covered most of the things that we were supposed to today. If someone has any, still have any questions, or have not been able to download something, you can always write to us as well. You would have received the welcome mail or the registration mail. In that, there is an email ID which is also mentioned. You can share that your feedback, or if there is anything which is left, you are facing any problem in downloading the document or anything in that as well. You can leave it on the community as well, and we will certainly get back to you on that. As I said, so with that, I am actually taking a promise from all of you that for the next 1 year, you will follow the Rajaswala Paricharya as much as possible. For those of you who are, the men who have actually joined in the session, please take it to the ladies of your family and share it with them. And if there are any questions from them, they request some more information, please stay associated with us. And for the next 1 year, we will take these few steps forward towards health of women. So thank you for your time and hope to see you soon. Namaskar.